First, I'd like to welcome you. Thank you so much for coming this morning. My name is Yash Morimoto, and I have two co-facilitators today, Kristen Krell over there, and Dana MacArthur on that side. So, I'll pass on the mic to Kristen.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for your time today. We are probably going to take the full 3 hours, but it's possible that we could end early. Here's what we're going to accomplish today. Our objectives for the next 3 hours is really important. You know that this has been a real time of transition. I know a lot of people have some mixed feelings about the whole process and all the transition happening. And so we think that today is a great opportunity to involve everybody here in visioning the next chapter of Santa Fe Community College. So today our goal is we want to engage faculty and college leaders in the process of developing strategies to effectively meet the strategic objectives identified through the strategic planning process. So we're going to be going over the strategic plan with you that we spent the last 4 months developing, and Yash is going to present that. And then we're really going to dig in and try to get your very best thinking about what are the specific strategies that we will implement moving forward that will address the strategic objectives. So we'll go over that in more detail so this makes a little bit more sense. And then we also, one big goal is to strengthen commitment and generate enthusiasm for the future of SFCC. So really we're thrilled to see so many people here because it is a really important transitional time and we do need everybody's positive thinking. So, and third is to build community and strengthen relationships. We hope that you have a chance today to kind of reconnect with people maybe you haven't seen over the summer. And in order for this day to be successful, we have a few requests of you. One is we're going to ask everyone to give us your positive attitude. Like I said, I know that there's some mixed emotions, some mixed feelings, but today we really need your positive attitude. We also need your very best thinking. It can't just be a couple of people at the top coming up with these strategies. We're the people doing it. So we need your very best thinking to come up with these practical strategies that we can implement in the months and years to come. So also to be just patient and persistent with the process. There are probably 70 or 80 people in the room. We do have a very detailed process that we'll be leading you through, and so we ask for your patience and we ask for your persistence as we move through this process. So I'm going to pass it over to Dana, and she's going to go over the agenda briefly. And just so you know, this is a 2-day activity, so what we do today, on Wednesday, it'll build on what we accomplished today.
Okay, hi everybody. Well, we've kind of already done the welcome and introduction. We are really glad you're here. We will have food. It is coming in a little while. I know Yash promised it, and it's true. It will be here. It's just a little late. First of all, Yash is going to do an overview of the strategic planning process to kind of get you back up to speed. I know you guys have been gone for a long time. It's good to see you guys back and refreshed and everything. And then Kristen is going to break everybody up into working groups. Where you're sitting now, you can stay if you like once you hear kind of the instructions, but you can also move to a different table if you decide that a different table is better for you or you're more interested in that later. And then I'll go over how we're going to generate strategies and address the strategic objectives. I have a hard time saying that, I don't know why. And then day 2, we're going to build on what we're doing here today. We're going to take those strategies that you've come up with, and you're going to identify the possible barriers for each of those, explore the implementation details of those, see if they're realistic. They may or may not be. And you're going to evaluate and prioritize the strategies. Which should we do first? Should we, do this one first over that one? So, Kristen?
Oh, so actually, before we move on, let's go ahead and go over the strategic plan.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, this mic is a little bit strong. So I get to finally go over that presentation that I wasn't able to go over at the convocation. If you were there at the meeting, I had 45 seconds to go over 15 slides. Hopefully I did a good job. You got it all right. All right. So what I'm going to do today is try to get everybody up to speed on what's been going on since March when we first started the strategic planning process. If you have any questions, at the end of the presentation, let's just do a quick Q&A so everybody's on the same page. So we started this process where we wanted to really have lots of students, staff, and faculty involvement. We came up with an internal and an external process, and we explored a number of different things, but we had 2 experienced professional strategic planners help us. Perhaps you met some of them. Perhaps you have come to one of the focus groups or the 2 half-day retreats. One of the most important things was to gather input. So we have done one-on-one interviews, small group discussions, cancel participations. I mean, we went out there. And we even create a strategic planning channel. If you haven't seen it somehow, then it's on Jack. If you don't know how to get there, let me know. Later on, I'll be happy to show it to you. And we gave weekly updates to everybody. So here's sort of what the participation looks like. These are duplicated numbers because, if you've done more than one activities, we had to count you more than once. Many times these were done anonymously, especially in the surveys, so that we could make sure that the information we gathered were anonymous and true. But you can sort of see we have a wide, campus-wide input. And I'm so glad you're here today because we could now further that development and input from the entire campus. For a strategic planning process to be really successful, everybody needs to be involved. If somebody just says, this is our goals, this is what we're going to do, it's not a true strategic plan. And so I'm so grateful that so many people were participating in the past and that you're here today. I'm going to skip this slide, but we're going to talk about the proposed mission statement. So this was developed through the strategic planning process, through the interviews, through the surveys, through the small focus groups, and the 2 half-day retreats. The group said this is what they wanted to use: empower students, strengthen community. Similar to what we used to have about 10 years ago, but this time we changed the words to really empower students. We also have a Spanish version. With the help of the Spanish faculty, we have been able to come up with it. We need to make some grammatical changes there, but looks pretty good. The vision statement was developed during the 2 half-day retreats, and the board members slightly changed it. Proposed vision statement is SFCC is a recognized leader in fulfilling its community's dreams, one student at a time. I think that's a pretty excellent vision statement. Just so everybody understands, the mission statement tells us who we are. The vision statements tells us where do we want to be. So that's the 2 distinction. And then the value statements. This was another one that we had to work through lots of focus groups and discussions. When we first started out, we had 50 different value statements. And it was a full-out fighting by everybody involved in it about which value statements to include and which ones not to. We've combined many of them into one. And we came up with 4 through our strategic planning process, but then the board members, when they had their retreat, said, you know what, we think we're missing one. We wanted to add integrity. So that's the new one that was added. We value integrity and demonstrate our commitment by modeling respect, honesty, and principled decision-making throughout the organization. I think that's a good one too. So we have 5 value statements, and here's the long-term goals. The way things work when you're going through a strategic planning process, and I know many of you have gone through one, so I'm not going to bore you with the details. But it goes from a large concept to a smaller concept to a smaller concept. It goes more details, from a broad ideas to a more detailed specific ideas. So from our mission statements and through our discussions through the 2 half-day retreats, we came up with 4 long-term goals. The 4 long-term goals you see right here are empower students to succeed, meet the community's learning needs, engage employee in the workplace, and ensure institutional effectiveness. So these are the 4 long-term 5-year goals that we would like to focus on for the next 5 years. And it's based on what people said during our strategic planning process. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to actually come up with strategies on decisions on how can we actually move these long-term, how can we accomplish these long-term goals. You know, these long-term goals has been broken down to more specific strategic objectives. And so for the next 2 days, well, not 2 days in a row, but Monday and Wednesday, we're going to work as a group and try to come up with the strategies that's going to accomplish these goals. So I'm not going to read them all because you can obviously see them, and you're going to see them on your table. But you might want to start thinking, which one of these long-term goals are you really interested in? Which group do you want to be part of in developing the strategies? Because we're going to be asking you in a moment to get up and go to a table that works on one of these 4 goals and develop the strategies for them. So, you know, we see long-term goals driving the strategic objectives, which drives the key performance indicators. The key performance indicators is sort of an outcome measure to see whether or not we have accomplished our goals. But just like with any quality process, you know, when you get input and feedback, you got to go back and try to make adjustments to the strategies and key performance indicators. So, you know, based on what we come up with today with our strategies, the key performance indicators might be changed because we then realized we need to do something different. But, you know, during the summertime when all the faculty members were gone, it wasn't going to be a good time for the college to develop strategies. I mean, talk about lack of stakeholder involvement then. So that's the reason we're doing today. That's the reason we waited during the summer times to developing any strategies, because we did not want to come up with a strategy without having faculty input. So any questions so far? Comments? Okay, we'll just move on ahead then. Kristen?
Okay, so here's what's going to happen. It's going to be a little chaotic for a few minutes here. We really want people to break into groups based on what you feel like you have the most experience with, based on what you're most passionate about, and based on where you want to put your energy in the months and years to come. So bear with me here. We have some very detailed materials, and they're focused on each strategic goal. So I'm going to explain this to you, and then I'm going to ask everyone to get up and find the area that you really want to focus on for the next 2 days, and then for the next, semester, next year. So we have 4. One is empower students to succeed, and I'm going to actually go over the strategic objectives below each of these so that you can see even more detailed what this means, okay? So one is, if you're really interested in empowering students to succeed, then we have 5 tables focused on that. Each table will want 4 to 6 people. There's about 6 at each table, maybe 7 at the very most. But there's 5 tables that will focus on empowering students to succeed. The next is meeting the community's learning needs, and then engaging employees in the workplace, and ensuring institutional effectiveness. So I'm going to take a minute and I'm going to talk through the strategic objectives for each so that you can see this is what you're going to be focusing on. For each of these, you're going to come up with 2 strategies. And then those strategies are what you're going to dig deeper into on Wednesday. So you want to make sure it's something you're interested in. So improve successful course completion, improve persistence for degree-seeking students, improve graduation for degree-seeking students, improve successful milestone completion, assure integrity of student learning in degrees and certificates. So just make a mental note. If you think you might be interested in working on that for the next 2 days, these are tables 1 through 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The materials there are different than the materials at all the other tables. So keep that in mind. And then after I go through all of these, we'll ask everyone to get up. You can grab some coffee if you want, run to the bathroom, and then you'll find the table that you're interested in. Okay, next, meet the community's learning needs. So that will focus on meeting the needs of lifelong learners, increasing enrollment in key areas, increase workforce training, access, and affordability. So that will be at these 3 tables here, 1, 2, 3. Okay? Okay, engage employees in the workplace is the 3rd goal, and that includes promote excellence in job performance, promote employee satisfaction, health, and engagement, attract and retain excellent workforce, and improve communication and collaboration. And so that will be here, and you'll notice it's color-coded too. The purple table's here, this table, and this table as well. And then finally, ensure institutional effectiveness. Yash knows this is the one everyone's going to be excited to participate in. Okay, remain fiscally responsible, meet and exceed internal and external standards and requirements, operate the college using environmentally sustainable practices, diversify the campus, and create a safe campus environment. So those are the 4 areas, and those 3 tables will be over here. And we know there's experts in here in all these different areas, so place yourself at the place that you think you will be the biggest asset and that you have the most interest in. So let's go ahead and take just a little break. You can grab some coffee if you want, and place yourself at the table that you're interested in.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing all right. How are you?
Doing great.
Looks beautiful.
Jonathan, I should put my table. Make sure she knows.
I'm about to say that. That'll pass it. Yeah, let me move them. And what, do you need me like right now? Today, our task is just one thing: to generate some strategies. You're going to ask, what's a strategy compared to a long-term goal, compared to KPIs? If you'll look on your table, you have this handy-dandy little definition sheet. I'll go over them now just quickly, but if you ever wonder what they are, you can always refer to this little definition sheet, the big, long one. And they're all the same at every table. But a strategy, which is what you're going to be coming up with today, and which will be 2 of them for each long-term, for each strategic objective,
A strategy is the action that you need to perform in order to achieve the strategic objective. And I'm going to have Yash and Kristen jump in and help me explain this as well. So you're going to ask, what's a strategy? Remember this purple up here, the purple on your table, or the green, or the blue, and I think there was kind of a red. That's a long-term goal. For the purple tables, it's engage employees in the workplace. And then all of these down here with the little numbers, 3.1 to 3.4, those are the strategic objectives. And I know I'm going over this and it's already been over, but when I go through this process, it gets a little bit confusing with KPIs and long-term goals and strategic objectives. Another thing is KPIs. These are really important, and they really play an integral part in creating strategies. You should have a handout on your table that looks something like this. This is for the engaged employees in the workplace, but your other tables will have the different colors on them. This lists your KPIs.
If I could jump in real quick. So it goes from larger concept to a smaller concept, right? We're going to get more and more specific as we go down the line. So the long-term goals, those are the goals we want to focus as an institution over the next 5 years. Then we have strategic objectives. You know, what do we mean really exactly when we say engage employees in the workplace? So the wonderful strategic planning coordinating group, which worked over the summertime with faculty, staff, students, have come up with strategic objectives. And these strategic objectives are what you're going to be working on today. Not the objectives themselves, but the strategies to accomplish the strategic objectives. The KPIs are there really as an outcome measure. You know, what's the results that we are really driving towards? So the group looked at the strategic objectives, looked at a number of different things, and came up with a first draft of what might be a KPI. So based on the strategies, based on the work you guys do today, we might actually redefine the KPIs because it might not be the appropriate outcome measures. But we want to have something there for you to look at and think about as to help you really decide what are the strategies you want to come up with and what are the type of outcomes we could actually measure. Any questions? Great.
So when you're looking at your, like for instance, the promote excellence in job performance strategic objective, when you're coming up with 2 strategies for that, you're going to want to take into consideration the current proposed institutional KPIs because they're going to kind of help drive those strategic objectives. And this is just kind of a little relationship. The strategies are the actions, and the KPIs are the measures that show if there's progress toward the strategic objectives. So, last slide. These are kind of your instructions, and I'll leave these up here for you guys. So, for every strategic objective that you have, for instance, engaging employees in the workplace, 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, and 3.4, you're going to consider the KPIs that are under each of those strategic objectives. You're going to brainstorm what action is needed to achieve the objective. In other words, come up with some strategies. And I'll tell you, just in those 2 steps, when I do this, I'll come up with maybe 20 strategies. And that's when you have to sit back and then do the next thing, which is categorize them. Because I can have 20 things that I think are strategies, but really 10 of them fall under one overarching strategy. And maybe the other 10 fall into another one. So categorize them. You only want to come up with 2. And I say 2, not to limit you guys, but just on Wednesday, we're going to spend those 3 hours taking the 2 strategic objectives for each one you have, which at each table will be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 total. And you're going to go through and take those 10 and look at the barriers and evaluate them and talk about implementation details. So that's 10 actually, not just 2. It's a lot of work, so we kind of limited you to that just today.
So just to reemphasize, we got 4 long-term goals. Each of these long-term goals have 4 to 5 strategic objectives. We want you to come up with 2 strategies that's going to accomplish them. So depending on which long-term objectives you're working on, you might have anywhere from 8 to 10 strategies that you're recommending for the institutions. And then as you can see, many of you are working on the same long-term objectives, so we could potentially have 30, 40, 50. So we just want you to focus on 2 per strategic objectives. Okay?
Okay, so the really important part of this, John, I'll have you come up to talk about recording. Each group needs to have a recorder. So you should have a laptop at your table, and you need to just choose someone or randomly, hey, if you have a computer in front of you, you're the recorder now. Surprise! So what you'll do as your table brainstorms and comes up with each of the strategies, you're going to open the Excel spreadsheet on your laptop, and you're going to type in the 2 strategies in the Excel workbook. The only places you can type in the workbook are the places to put the strategies. And I'll come around the table. It's really, really simple. But John, do you want to tell them how to find it?
Okay. All right, go ahead and open up that laptop, and if it powered down on you, being that they've been sitting up here, just turn it back on. And it's probably going to be locked. It's going to be locked, and it probably says CLE train. The password is going to be train, T-R-A-I-N. Train. Password is train, T-R-A-I-N. And then once you log in, you'll see the Excel spreadsheet on the desktop. And it's going to probably be like color-coded or colored. It'll say purple, green, blue, just like our strategies. And if you're having trouble, just raise your hand. Okay, and I'll be right there.
Okay. Also, I just want to, I know there's a lot of paperwork on your table. I want to draw your attention to this sheet right here. This sheet, each of you have it. It's color-coded for your topic, and it has each of the strategic objectives on there, and then it has focus questions for you to consider as you're discussing this. And so we have about just under an hour and a half. And I want to propose there's a couple different processes you could use. If you wanted, you could divide up, say 2 people take and brainstorm each strategic objective at your table. That would give you 4 to 5. So 2 people could take the first one, 2 people could take the second, then the third, then the fourth. Spend time on that one and then share out with the rest of your group so that you're working on all of them at the same time. But definitely take the time to share within your group. Or you could have the entire group go strategy by strategy. But it's going to take some discipline to get through all of them because it's easy to get sidetracked because each one of these is a very large topic. So if you could start by talking at your table about how you want to do this in a way that makes the most sense. If it was me, I would recommend dividing it up 2 people per strategy.
Okay, and the last thing, inside that Excel workbook that you just opened up, the only tab that you're going to be using today is the one labeled strategic objectives or creating strategies. The rest, generating strategies. Don't worry about any other tabs, just that one today. It's called generating strategies. Everybody find it? Okay, go.
Okay, everybody, I don't want to interrupt the great discussion you guys are having. I just want to let you know what's happening next on Wednesday. The next step after we're done today, on Wednesday, we're going to be evaluating the strategies that you guys have come up with and coming up with tactics of step by step how we're going to implement those strategies. And also look at the barriers, if there's any barriers to these strategies that you guys are coming up with. So it's important to enter all your information into the computer. Make sure you're signed in because you're going to want to come back to this exact same table. And today we're scheduled till 12, but if you're done early, then you're done for today. So thank you, and continue on with the discussion. I just want to give everybody a quick update about our mission statement, vision statement, values, and long-term goals. Yesterday, we had the opportunity to present to the board our proposed mission statement, vision statement, values, long-term goals. And as you can see from the screen, the word proposed has been removed. It's been adopted. It's been approved unanimously. So now SFCC has a mission statement for the next 5 years, from 2013 to 2017. So I want to read out the mission statement to you. Empower students, strengthen community. It's short, simple, direct to the point, and it's something that the entire campus came up with. So I'd like to thank everybody who participated in the process for coming up with a wonderful mission statement. The vision statement is, as such, SFCC is a recognized leader in fulfilling its community's dreams, one student at a time. Another beautiful vision statement. When we first started out at those 2 half-day retreats, we didn't have a vision statement. There was a group of people who worked hard and came up with this wonderful statement. The board made slight changes, and I think it's a wonderful vision statement for the college. The values. The values was the hardest part. You know, when we first started out, we had over 50 potential values. And there was a group of people, just everybody who participated in the short 3 focus groups, as well as surveys, as well as half-day retreats. We finally narrowed it down. And I think we have a good value statements. We have 5 of them. Student learning, excellence, people, social responsibility, and the board added one additional one, integrity. So these are the values that we hold as an institution for the next 5 years. And it's thanks to everybody who worked hard on this. So the long-term goals. You already been working on it yesterday, but now it's official. These are the 4 long-term goals for the next strategic plan. Oh, and there's a typo there, of course. It's 2013 to 2017. It's not a 6-year plan, it's a 5-year plan. So, once you grab the food, we ask you to come back to the table you were sitting at yesterday, and we're going to actually start working on the next step of our planning process. Kristen, Dana, would you like to talk about that real quick?
Okay, I haven't seen the PowerPoint slide that's about to come up, so we're going to see how things go. But the gist of it is that you're going to take your strategies that you did that you created on Monday, which are still on the Excel worksheet on the computer. You just open up the Excel spreadsheet on the that's on the desktop. And you also have handouts on your table. There's a packet that looks kind of like this. Of course, this is just for the Empowering Students to Succeed tables, but you'll have them in your colors. They might be tucked inside the computer if they aren't unpacked from there. So we're going to do 3 things with the strategies today. You have 3 worksheets to go through. It looks like a lot, and it is a lot, but we think we know we can get through it all. I'm just going to overview the 3 things. I'm going to go over one worksheet. Kristen's going to go over another one, and Yash is going to go over the last one in detail. So for those of you who are recorders, you need to look at the spreadsheet on the computer, and you'll look at the little tabs at the bottom. The first tab is going to be your Generating Strategies tab. Everybody else has a copy of what is on the Excel spreadsheet on paper. Generating Strategies, everything that you typed in is there. We may have spell checked it and made complete sentences because you guys were having to hurry, but all those things are there. The next worksheet is considering barriers, and there should be some of them in your packet. At the top it says Considering Barriers Guide. That's the first worksheet you want to look at. Your strategies are already on the worksheet in the strategy column, so you can see what you guys came up with. And for each strategy, you're going to consider the barriers to that strategy and explain the barriers that you think there are. One is, are there sufficient resources? You're going to explain that if there are or there aren't. Is there a lack of community support? Explain that if you can. Are there legal or policy impediments? Are there technical challenges? Is there a limited organizational or management capacity? So that's the first worksheet. Make sure when you guys are finding the worksheets that up top it tells you whether it's considering barriers. The second one that Kristen's going to go over is the implementation guide. And the third one that Yash is going to go over is the evaluate and select guide. Okay, so I'm going to give it to Kristen.
I'll go over the second worksheet when we get there. So we're going to spend the next about 30 minutes completing this first worksheet on considering barriers, and then we'll go through the implementation guide. So there's boxes for each of these. We're really not concerned about every single box being filled out. We want you to do your best thinking about and put your energy into what you think is most important. There's going to be a lot of information for us to sort through and analyze and compile. So just give us your best thinking. But for each strategy that you've developed, which should be, I guess, probably 8 for each table, 8 to 10, we're asking for you to consider these things for each of those strategies. So that's a fair amount of information to sort through in the next half hour to 40 minutes. So you're going to need, you could, like I said yesterday, you could do it a number of different ways. You could go as a group and go through it, or if you want to break it out, you could do pairs where each of you take a strategy and think it through and then share it. But you'll have about 40 minutes, and it would be great to think through each of the strategies, even if you don't fill out every single box.
Right, and make sure you put it in the computer because we need to, you don't want to waste time of writing everything down and then data entering. It's probably best to do it as you go along. So go right ahead. Thank you very much.
We just want to let you know that when you feel that you've just had enough and you're not productive, you're welcome to go. What we do ask is that, well, no. Sorry, that came off wrong.
Kristen.
Sorry. Oops. We encourage you to stay as long as you're productive. We want your ideas. We think this is really important, but we also don't want to make people stay if they're not feeling productive. So what I would like to encourage you to do is stay as long as you can. Give us as much information as if you're still coming up with good ideas, please stay. But don't leave before filling out the evaluation. This is the first time we've ever done this process. We really want feedback about what worked well, what we'll do differently next time. And definitely give us what we don't want you to leave with is without giving us the measurements of your strategies. How are we going to measure your strategies?
Also, just wanted to explain the next steps. The Strategic Planning Coordinating Group meets every Thursday, every other Thursday now. And so we'll be synthesizing all of your good thinking into one document. We'll be putting it on the Strategic Planning channel. The coordinating group is going to take your feedback, analyze it, and further refine it. So there's going to be other opportunity for you to be involved in it if you're interested in it.
Is it meeting tomorrow?
Not this week, no, not this week. So thank you, and if you have to go, we understand, but if you could stay as long as you can, giving us your ideas, because more information we have, the better off we could in terms of making sure it actually gets implemented.